actually prepared a Batman mask because when you're speaking to a superhero, you should probably wear your own superhero gear. Patrick has really changed the industry. But I think the very first question on all of our minds at this hour is, how long have you been up, Patrick?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I think I got up around 8 in the morning yesterday. So
Wow.
that's 24-hour plus 2 hours around. So going strong. You can see by my eyes, I'm getting sleepy. So yeah, definitely. But yeah.
So make sure to make this a pretty tough roast, a tough AMA to keep you alert.
Yeah.
Hang on. I hear you? No, I hear you fine. You're not muted. That's fantastic. Okay, so plenty of work went into putting together this event. It's an extraordinary event with amazing speakers from around the globe, so many moving parts. How do you even start pulling something like this together?
Well, it all starts with, in this case, with a simple tweet. And then somebody believes in the idea. Let's do this. And then more people of the team started believing it, like, think big, let's do this. And, the more people that came on board, the more it grew, and the more the connections, the human connections, worked their magic, pulling people in. I'm not going to say it wasn't a struggle, because we had to kind of find replacements for people in these times, and kind of have backups for backups for backups. But we managed, right? So there's no real exact planning, although there is like execution in a way that you prepare for the worst. And I think part of my ops background is like having failure modes and making sure that you look at the failure modes of whatever we're doing, and you find a way or an alternative. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. Are you able, or would you like to share the final tally of funds that were raised towards charity?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I said, are you able, or is it possible for you to share an estimate of the final funds raised towards charity?
I'm going to leave that to the honor of the closing, kind of, okay. Not steal the thunder of the team. So, but the hint is obviously it's looking great.
That's fantastic.
So that's kind of it went way more beyond my imagination of what we could have. So we're having like a slow start, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, and just people started like getting tickets and donations, and that was really amazing. So
that's fantastic. Way to go to the entire team. That's really tremendous. So before all this COVID-19 madness broke out, I had the distinct opportunity and pleasure to participate in the 10-year reunion celebration, we'll even call it, of DevOps Days in Ghent, as one of the organizers of DevOps Days Tel Aviv. Tell us a little bit about how you felt when you saw all these dozens of communities come together from around the globe around a concept that you literally created.
It is weird, just to say the least. But I think we had the first day was, we called it day zero, I guess, was all the organizers around the world coming together. So, I think we were closing about 65 events a year, and then all people flew in. So that was like a magic moment when they all get to know each other, get to see each other. And you started feeling the kind of the vibe of, this community. And then all the attendees, it was back in my hometown in Ghent. And then it was at a place like where like, oh, this would be awesome. Like, an old theater. And the fact that there's like, I was looking in the audience, like, I know that person, I know his story, I know her story. And a lot of it were just like amazing stories that I've seen over the years of people growing in the community, helping others. When they grow, they started like helping others, and it just like is this chain reaction of things happening, and it's like super unrealistic in a way that this is happening, but it is like a privilege to witness, people, do that. So that, yeah, it was heartwarming.
Yeah, I can tell you that for me, I've been in this since 2013, and aside from those who came to the Tel Aviv event, I never had the opportunity of really meeting all the organizers, and it was just such a wonderful experience to be a part of something that's greater than yourself. So on that very note, what's it like to know that you coined a phrase that spurred an entire movement around like a complete transformation of an industry? I think that's a really big achievement.
So let me phrase it like this. My son would say, like, Daddy, why didn't you trademark DevOps? And it's like, it kind of, whatever you do, a family puts things in perspective. And like, there was never a plan. And the fact that this has grown is giving me a lot of opportunities and a lot of, people I talk to and things that I, witnessed and especially things that I learned. I think a lot of people would try to put me somewhere in the center, but I keep saying it's like something that happened over time. It's like the industry was ripe for new ideas, and that was just like I keep saying it's by accident that we got started. So it wasn't something that came out of my brain. It's just like different threads that cross paths. What I usually say is that I do like give myself the credit that I promoted a lot of it. So it's not that I thought about it, but the fact that kind of energy got things rolling. And I think one of the nicest compliments I got is that somebody said part of the openness and the willingness of the DevOps community is a reflection from kind of my character. And that's like one of the hugest compliments I could get. And then people sending me emails or coming up to me like, you changed my life, you changed my things for the better. That is like so rewarding. I can't even describe that. So
it's amazing. And they say that the highest form of flattery is when somebody like mimics you. And so the CNCF only just recently, 10 years after you launched DevOps Days, is now trying to replicate that for Kubernetes and their Kubernetes community. Do you think these grassroots style of events, well, I know now that we're in, COVID-19 and it's a little bit different, but do you think that that's going to be the new face of how, technology events happen, not those like large scale kind of industry events, but more like grassroots developer type events?
So what's interesting is the way that the initial years of organizing DevOps Days event was actually getting kind of random people on Twitter, not really random, because you can see them from afar from their communication, what they're interested in, like the way their language works. And I never met those people. And yet I was able to say, let's do a conference in New York. Let's do one in Israel. Let's do one there. And that was like, I never met them. But so the fact that I wasn't like having day-to-day meeting them in person was kind of irrelevant in that perspective. And people hanging out on Slack or chat and like creating the GitHub web repository or like describing documents. And I think I think now we would appreciate it more, and it feels less erratic when I would reach out to a random person saying, "Hey, let's do a conference." It's like, what? But now they would kind of be more open that like a remote person, is just a regular person that would listen to, instead of just being a person from their inner circle or the people that they used to hang out. So in that way, I think it's a positive movement that it opens things up. For good and for bad, like the number of Zoom calls and remote conferences we're doing is obviously increasing. So, but that's just something else.
I like that. Well, we scale all the.
I think Mike is busy on us, right?
We want to see how long you can hold out.
Well, yeah, it's like. He can break my record. I have no problem with Mike. So he can do that.
All right.
So
I'm going to ask
the fun fact of the 2399 is that so initially it was kind of like a running joke for the marathon. I think there was like the marathon that was going to be held like virtually, and they put like I don't know what is like 24 hours or something. And then like people started speculating, what's the .99 for? Is it like a rounding error? Is it like a lot of like different twists? I think reality now, like close to having the 24 hours, we actually went down that like 0.001% of the conference. Nobody noticed it, but it was one stream that kicked in. I closed the stream, unexpected error. I just hit the button again, and there we were rolling again. So,
I have to say, this was like an operational, it's like amazing. All right, I'm going to ask a bit of a controversial question. So, you've been pretty vocal about your opinion on DevSecOps. What's next for DevOps? Some would already say that DevOps as a concept is becoming legacy. Where's it all going? Some say that there's overlap between DevOps, SRE, production engineering, platform engineering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Looking ahead, where do you see all this going?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a question I kind of get a lot. Like, what's the future of DevOps? And I kind of taken my piece in a way that I don't care about it too much. And when you say DevOps has become like legacy, I would say it's become more embedded, the way of thinking. So it's a different way of like rephrasing the same thing, and there will be a new phrase or something new. We've seen now SRE and then observability and then serverless and then many trends. I think it's gonna be some time until we see like a new human trend. I think resilience is kind of going that direction. But I would hope somehow that we again kind of get closer to the agile people again, which, if you track the two groups separately, like let's say the DevOps and the Ops community, and then the agile community, they're kind of talking about the same things, but they're going at different conferences. There's, speaking of like different models, and I would hope to, that comes closer again together. But besides that, I learned that you cannot predict where things are going, and I have like lots of gray hair, so I lived through Agile, I lived through ITIL, and like they all start with the good intentions, people really like working on it and improving things, and then somehow it gets lost in like a wider majority. And I think that's happening with kind of DevOps in general, right? Oh, it was like cool, the new thing, we tried it, and it worked, so we're looking for the next thing. And I once gave a presentation where I said like DevOps is like a meme, so it will just keep repeating, and it will like a meme is actually the smallest unit from a cultural thing. So a meme, DevOps as a meme will just keep being there forever. Whether that's going to be like continuously talked about or somewhere in a corner, it doesn't really matter. But it like people will build IDs on top of that, and that way, like I taken my piece on whatever it will come. So and anyway, I never controlled it. I never will, and I never want to. So the more IDs that are coming, the better, because then we can expand and learn new things, and that's important for me. So,
a question that I have, a personal question. Now that I have you live, and you have to, when are we getting you to Tel Aviv?
I've been there, but not long enough. So I've been there in the beginning of the year. I
mean, for DevOps days.
No, but it was pleasantly surprised. So, if that opportunity comes again, I'll definitely come over, Sharone. So I appreciate all the work you're doing there.
Oh, no, of course. Do you have a GitHub repo for do-it-yourself online conferencing? asking questions.
I do, but it's private. I will clean it up, but not today. But it's basically crappy HTML and CSS I threw together in the last couple of days. And then for the rest, I used a lot of services, but I think the trick was like choosing the right services in a way that they were compatible, simple enough to operate by all the people, and that. So I'll be working and sharing that because that was part of the exercise. We could have gone for a full-fledged platform, which would have cost us quite some money. And given that it's community, we just like wanted to give that back to the charity.
Yeah.
And no offense, but a lot of the platforms just looked like they were built in the 80s, and they're like this kind of transformation of a local booth to like a virtual booth in 3D, and I'm not a big fan of those concepts. So I like simplicity, and even though it didn't achieve all the interactivity that I was hoping or aiming for, we had to cut down in a lot of the options, but we did quite some experiments, so I'm happy about that, how that went. So.
Yeah, I think the interactivity.
But that's like the long answer to say yes, it will be available. So.
Okay, so you did say that you have the gray hair, and gray hair is obviously a sign of many years of experience. Avishai Shalom, one of my community favorites from our area, likes to say that real expertise takes about 20 years to cultivate. So as someone who I would consider an expert in this area, give us a few tips, your takeaways from the few years that you've been in the industry, the most important achievements that DevOps and accomplishments that DevOps has made possible. And
so I think the most important achievement is the fact that we brought the groups together, and then like Agile kind of brought the devs and the testers closer together in the business, but bringing the ops, and now I think the DevSecOps is an extension of that. That the fact that this collaboration is happening on a human level, for me, that is still the important part of DevOps. And I know a lot of people see it in the pipeline, but the fact that I can have like a normal day-to-day conversation without having overly stressed and doing a good job. Some would say it's just an extension of Agile, and they're right. So it took like a new term to kind of get some minds in a new direction, which is fine. But I like the fact that and hopefully it kind of humanized a little bit of the discussions that were happening in kind of companies. I could obviously give the polite answer and say, we got better for the business, but I may not be that business person. I may be closer to the human person, and the fact that people are having a better life at their jobs, they're like working well together, they have less stress. For me, that is like a more important part of the achievement, I guess.
That's amazing. I really do think that the whole DevOps concept brought the human element into it and made people understand about a little bit more about the people behind these roles. And I think that that's a great achievement of yours. One last question from the crowd. In your do-it-yourself kind of open conference GitHub repo that you're going to share, is there any recommended hardware or anything that you would recommend for people to use in order to get started?
So I can like quickly say what we use here. So that like for further reference, we used StreamYard, which is a kind of easy streaming solution for streaming your room, much like Hangouts, but a little bit more fancier. Like you see, all the scrolling titles, the logos and stuff. I think the reason why we chose it was because it was easy to operate. Then we had a backup streaming system called Go Live Stream, and that the reason why is that if this StreamYard didn't work, we could still like switch to Zoom as a backup plan. If the stream failed, we could like keep the stream running. If YouTube failed, we could go to Mixer. So it like provided a lot of backup options for doing that. I want to give a shout out to Sessionize, which is the tool that we used for putting the whole planning of the schedule, which they donated because we're doing this for a good cause. So that was cool. what did I forget? So the streaming that was on Mixer, and we chose Mixer because it has like only a couple of seconds of latency, which is cool for doing interactions. And otherwise, you'll have to wait like 10 or 15 seconds until you see something happening on the stream while you're already done it, which is awkward for a presenter. So that's like one of the reasons why we chose that. What else? I think that there aren't that many moving parts that we used, but the fact that there's so many options out there, and then choosing wisely depending on the options, depending on the costs, that was kind of our choice where we went for. So that's in a nutshell.
Wow. So yeah, you can tell that an operations person said this. Redundancy and more redundancy and more redundancy. That's really cool.
Yeah, and
really
we did use it live, so somebody couldn't go on a tool, so we switched to Zoom, patched them in, so we had that covered. The things happen, and a live stream is all like predicting like what's going to happen. So
I think we're coming to the tail end of this awesome AMA. For me, it was a pleasure and an honor to be able to do this, to participate in all the talks. I think you can take this opportunity to wrap it up and say a few thoughts you'd like.
Yeah, I think it's it was an amazing team, and you have to stay up for 24 hours, but the fun, the jokes, everything happening on the Slack. Just people were so open. Big shout out for the people in the green room. That wasn't visible for a lot of the folks. Obviously, the presenters there as well. The people in the company supporting it with their volunteering time. The sponsors who kicked in quite generously. For a handful of showing on the screen, they all kicked some money in. It was amazing. And then the audience that was there. That was also a surprise. I think we got close to 880 people watching simultaneously, which is kind of insane, if you looked at across 24 hours. So that was beyond my expectations of an event. So, thanks for all. And thank you, Sharone, because you've been a good host, really helpful, very supportive behind the scenes as well. So thank you for doing that. And Mike, I know you're listening, and Rudy. And all the whole team. My brain goes that way. But
can we bring you on, Mike, for a second?
Mr. Rosado?
You there? And superhero Mike, who's also been up for hours and supporting the event and helping behind the scenes. Just really, really an awesome team of hosts and organizers and sponsors and everything together, and it can really be felt. So awesome job, everyone who is involved. I think from here we're going to a closing event that Patrick will be happy to share a little bit about. And
I'm going off. I'm going to do the global switch. So everybody gets the right stream. Okay?
So it's all going to be in the same stream?
No. So somebody's going to do the closing centrally. So I'm going to switch all the stream to the central room.
Oh, gotcha.
There's going to be a wrap up. Right. See you soon. I'm going to go to sleep immediately after the event, but I'll put you on online. Okay? Bye-bye.
Good.